Hello everyone, welcome to FITV. My name is Clarence here at CIELA Resort, and we are at Land-Linked Zambia 2025. I have the pleasure of sitting with Mr. Bruno Ching'andu, who is the CEO of TAZARA. Mr. Ching'andu, welcome to Financial Insights.
Thank you so much for having me.
And yes, just to kick off, you are the CEO of one of our prized assets in Zambia, in partnership obviously with Tanzania. Can you just articulate what your role at that institution entails?
I am the general worker.
Okay.
I clean, I run money, I run cargo, I run everything.
Absolutely.
As an organization, we are mandated to move freight and also passengers broadly. So my role is to ensure that we do that as effectively and as efficiently as possible.
Okay. If we talk about the AfCFTA or AfCFTA framework, which aims to create the world's largest free trade area, and if we could discuss the infrastructure gaps that exist, why should railway be a top priority for African leaders and investors right now?
First of all, the move to AfCFTA is a very good and broad move by the AU. It is really a very good move by the AU. Most of the countries have signed up for that.
Okay.
Now, it is in the execution. In the execution, you need to now have an effective logistics. In the AFTA, it means me who is growing cassava. If I was getting cassava from across the ocean, now I can get that cassava from Zambia, I can get that cassava from Tanzania. But for us to trade effectively and competitively, we will have to have an efficient logistics system. And that logistics can be best provided by the railways.
Okay.
If we do not sort out the logistics, it will be very difficult to effect the AfCFTA.
Okay.
The railways is the answer.
Okay.
We should now, the AU, the private sector, must now be looking at what needs to be done to the railways. They must improve the infrastructure of the railways, revitalize it in readiness for the boom when the AfCFTA is going to be operating. If we don't do that, we are not going to get the full benefits.
Which kind of partly answers my next question, which is to do with how underinvestment in railway directly hinders Africa's ability to capitalize on the AfCFTA's potential for intra-Africa trade.
The major thing is the track.
Okay.
If you don't have a road, you don't have a railway. If you've got a road and you've got a poor locomotive or a poor car, you can move slowly. But if there's no road, there's just a forest, you can't operate.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, for most of Africa, we inherited the railways from our colonial masters, and we did very little with it. Very little investment has gone into the railways. Not only TAZARA, Zambia Railways, almost all the railways. I'm very glad that now, even in our continent, we have seen a revival towards the railways. We've seen SGR Electric in Tanzania, great job. We've seen SGR Diesel Electric in Kenya, great job. We've seen SGR Ethiopia Djibouti. That's the way to go. the infrastructure has to be modernized in order to pick this extra cargo that's going to come into play. Move it quickly, shorter times, and also efficiently.
Yeah.
Then the benefits will be there.
And I suppose that by SGR, you're talking about the standard
Gauge
railway. Okay.
Correct.
So now, road transport dominates Africa's freight movements, but as you are alluding to, it's more costly and it's inefficient. So how can shifting cargo to railways accelerate regional integration and trade competitiveness?
No, the road is not inefficient.
Okay.
The road transportation is very good, very effective, and very efficient because you are able to pick from door to door.
Okay.
The railways cannot pick from door to door.
Okay.
So the roads are for distances under 500 kilometers. That's the best mode.
Okay.
If you've got if you've got small goods, don't come to me. If you've got small tonnages, don't come to me. If you've got if you are going to move 200 kilometers, 300 kilometers, you are not my customer. You are not a customer for the railways. You are my customer if you are moving over 500 kilometers. If you've got bulk cargo, you've got so much coal, you've got so much maize, you've got so much fertilizer, then you are my customer. You and I can work together.
Okay.
In cases where the road is, we can work together whereby the road brings the materials to the station. We take over from the station and move the 2,000, 1,000 kilometers to the other station, where the road again picks it from there to the final destination.
And that's the last mile, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. That's quite eye-opening, I think. I hadn't quite thought about it that way. So really appreciate. Now, some argue that railways are outdated, they are too capital intensive. How would you respond to policy makers' hesitancy to prioritize rail over other infrastructure projects?
Unfortunately, it is true that railways are capital intensive. Railways are heavy engineering, very heavy engineering.
Yeah.
Very, very engineering. You need workshops, big workshops. You need even the infrastructure. You need to build bridges,
Yeah.
etc. Yes, but once you have built the railway, you forget about it. You just do the normal, the normal maintenance after every 15 years or so. You have to do some works on the railways, and the everyday maintenance.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to maintain. You don't have to build another railway. How many times have we rebuilt railways that how many times have we rebuilt roads
yeah.
after we've constructed them?
Over and over and over again.
Over and over and over again. You can't beat railway once you put it there. You can't beat railways once you put it there. In Europe, 40 to 40%, 45% of the infrastructure in transportation goes to rail. Why? Because they've seen they can carry more passengers in one go, they can carry more goods in one go, and hence reducing the total costs to the end consumer.
Yeah.
That's the way even our governments must go. Even our governments must go there. If the governments are not able to do that because they've got other commitments taken, the private sector must come in. Must come in. We must make it attractive for them to concession the railways so that they start operating. They bring in the funds required to either construct a new railway or revitalize the existing railway. The benefits are huge. Apart from the cost benefits, the environmental costs. You see, you save about 60 to 70% of emissions when you use railway for the same 10 kilometers that has been moved. So railway is the way to go. Railway is the way to go.
Absolutely. Now, Let's talk about solutions and how, they could be facilitated. So I'm talking primarily about financing, okay? What innovative funding models could fast track rail development, and where have these worked successfully, if there are any examples like that?
You see, as you mentioned earlier, or as I mentioned earlier, railways are heavy investment, very, very heavy investment.
Absolutely.
And to get the IRR, the internal rate of return, at an appropriate level in the shorter period is very difficult. You need an investor that's going to go in there for the long term. Unfortunately, many investors shy away from that.
Yeah.
That is why the best model, in my view, is to have somebody who is going to invest and operate. So he gets the returns from the operations that he's going to put into the railways.
Okay.
Like has been done in Cameroon, where the concession has worked very well, and like we are trying to do now with CCECC in TAZARA, where they're going to bring in huge amounts of funds, and then they're going to operate for 27 years to 30 years. Through that period, they're going to get that return. The other way, of course, of investing, which is indirect, is to bring in capital and equipment through open access. In open access, an investor comes in with his own locomotives, with his own wagons, and he starts operating on the line. That way, you suddenly have more traffic onto the rail without you having looked for funds to enhance the capacity of the line.
Okay.
Right.
Great. How can African nations collaborate to create cross-border rail corridors that align with the AfCFTA's vision of a unified market?
It's a very good question. Unfortunately, at the moment, we operate in silo. Zambia budget looks at Zambia.
Yeah.
Tanzania budget looks at Tanzania. Mozambique. The point is, through SADC, for example, through SADC and through SARA, we know what type of equipment is needed. We know what type of facilities are needed for the rail. If we put these as standard items that are needed, even when the national railway, when the nations are putting up the budget, from a technical point of view, common standards must be applied. Today, I'll tell you, when I'm going to SNCC, just for customs, SNCC have got a different system. Zambia's got a different system.
Yeah.
When I go to Tanzania, Tanzania's got a different system. Zambia's got a different system. Perhaps what President Hakainde Hichilema was talking about should be put into place much quicker, where you don't have one border post, but you have no border post. You have no border post, so that you are only able, you put in equipment that will enable the various governments to earn whatever they are supposed to earn, but they don't have to delay the movement of the locomotives, the wagons onto the system.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And if the current underinvestments were to persist, what risk does Africa face in missing out on the AfCFTA's promised benefits?
You see, everybody is talking about the railway being an economical driver. We must put the money where the mouth is.
Okay, I like that.
If you are only investing 10 to 15% for rail, and you're investing 70 to 90% on road, then rail is not being considered as critical, as a major economical driver. We have to move the money to where we want the economy to grow, for the driver of the economy. Indeed, because there are so many players in the road sector, and because they are individuals, they are probably a better lobby group. And therefore the railway suffers because it is one entity fighting thousands of people with small business of moving items. But overall, as countries, we lose out because of that.
And if you have a final message for stakeholders, what would that message be for those stakeholders who still view railway as a nice to have thing and not really that important, and rather than a must-have for the AfCFTA's success?
We have to change that attitude. Realistically, even just in Zambia, we are saying let's move 3 million 2030. Let's have copper go to 3 million 2030. To produce 1 ton of copper, you need probably 3 tons of other products to produce that 1 ton. So you've got 4 tons. So it's 4 times 3 million. So you've got 12 million. How will that 12 million move? How will it move? You can't put it on the road. If you put it on the road, you have no road. You have to be building a road every 6 months. So my plea is that let's put our investment as much as possible where there is huge returns. The railways are it.
Okay. And on that note, I would like to thank you, Mr. Ching'andu, for joining us with Financial
Thank you so
Insights.
much. Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. This is the Chief Executive Officer of TAZARA, Mr. Ching'andu, and it's been a pleasure to host him at Financial Insight. My name is Clarence Chongo, and on behalf of Financial Insight, I say, get to.